Hello, trumpet players and musicians in general. Today we're going to be talking about what I call making a human connection. So this is a lesson that I learned way, way too late in life. Um, and I shouldn't say the word too late because that makes it sound like I've passed the time when it's useful to know. And actually that's not true. But I wish I had learned what I'm about to share with you when I was in high school or even sooner than that, because it would have changed everything. I think one of the biggest problems we face as music students is that we climb so deep into the notes and the rhythms and the mechanics of the music that we lose touch with what music is to begin with. And if you boil it down to its essence, music is a way that we connect to other people. And, it just dawned on me that to some of you, that's a terrifying thought, but it really shouldn't be. That's not why I'm sharing it with you. I don't want you to be terrified by this. Um, But now that I'm looking back at, maybe if I did learn this earlier, when I first heard it, I might have thought, boy, that's a terrifying thought. Because you know what? I'm an introvert, right? Um, and that human connection thing has always been very difficult for me. But it's not the same though. So in fact, I think that's why I thrive so well in music, is because of the fact that I am an introvert and it's hard for me to have a conversation. I'm great on the keyboard. I can have a great conversation um, if I'm not actually live there with the people. So, anyway, let's get to the bottom of this. What is the human connection? When we practice, we should be practicing with the thought, the underlying thought, that the reason we're doing this is to make a connection to the people. Now, what is that connection? We're sharing our thoughts, our ideas with the audience. And by the way, this is just as true for contest as it is for uh, performance music. Okay? There's no difference. So when I say, you know, sharing my thoughts and ideas, that's just as true. If I was back in high school going to audition for Allstate, that's just as true now as it is for me today being on stage at a wedding and playing whatever it is I play at weddings, right? Or at a jazz club playing what I play at a jazz club, or playing at a church. There's really no difference between an audition and a live performance. There shouldn't be. And if you're thinking, and I think that's why I'm bringing this up now, if you're thinking that there's a difference, then you're not performing in the audition as well as you can. All right? You're not doing your best job. Now, and that's what I'm trying to say. When we look at the mechanics, we go to the contest, we think we need to play it right. We need to play it more accurately, more this and more that. And in terms of holding ourselves to this standard, and yes, we do. That's part of it. Okay? We want to um, improve our performance, but that's not what we're here for. We're not. You know what? If people wanted to hear machines, they would listen to a machine. There's plenty of that already, right? So when we're working on our sound, when we're working on our technique, when we're working on our scales and our arpeggios and all that stuff, what this comes down to is, why are you working on it? Are you working on it so you can, quote unquote, be the best? Or are you working on it because you have something inside of you you want to share with the people, right? And you're practicing. See, that's how I see it. I'm practicing this stuff so that what's inside of me can come out. All right? That's the human connection. And when we get that right, everything in our practice life falls into place. If we instead are practicing to be the best, that means you're not practicing to make that human connection, and you will be placed lower in the rankings, not higher. You will be less well regarded on stage, not more well regarded, okay? Because when we listen to a musician, that's what we're listening for. We may not think it that way with those words. We may not be using those words when we listen. But when we listen to a trumpet player or any other musician for that matter, we're waiting for them to share with us what's on their heart, what's on their mind, what their musical thoughts, their musical aspirations, not aspirations, that's not the right word, but you can see my point, right? The whatever your music heart is, that's bubbling out with ideas and pinings. That's a good word, pinings. These things that you want so badly to share with the world. That's the stuff that makes your music interesting. And what's interesting about this is that when you get to that point where you're able to make a human connection, it's not that the mistakes don't matter anymore. Mistakes do matter, always. They should always matter to you. But it's more like a cloaking device for your mistakes, okay? If you make a human connection, then your imperfections are kind of hidden. Why? Because we're all human, right? It's assumed that there's imperfections. You know, this is a matter of bringing it on yourself, right? If you go into a performance with the mindset that you're going to make a human connection, by the way, the human connection is between you and the band members. There's got to be that kind of human connection too, okay? A human connection between you and the band members, and then also another human connection between you and the audience, okay? But when you go into the performance, you get to frame that performance with your intentions and what your ambitions are. If your intention is to share that human connection, the people are not expecting perfection. Let that sink in. But if you go in with the intention of showing everybody how good you are, if you go into it with the intention of being the best, you brought it on yourself because of the framing that you put your music in. You brought that criticism on yourself. So you could be sitting in the same performance or the same competition. I'm talking about competition now because I know that a lot of you watching this are students. And, I think I can't be certain, but I think a lot of you that have subscribed to my channel are students that are preparing for All State, All Regions. So I'm talking about the contests as well. Normally I wouldn't. Okay, if it was December or January or February when the contests are pretty much over, um, then I wouldn't be talking about this. But it's important, right? It's just important in the contest as it is. So that framing, you choose what you're going to go into the contest or the performance with. What is your mindset? Are you going to be the best? If your mindset is that you're going to be the best, you are bringing all of that condemnation onto yourself. You are choosing condemnation. You are choosing judgment because that's the frame that you put yourself in. Okay? But if you go with the intention of making a human connection, speaking through your music, singing through your music. I had some time with a wonderful hornist, a man from Belgium named Francis Orville, and he's the one that opened my eyes about singing through the instrument. We were doing a Tomase brass ensemble piece, and I had a big solo in the piece, and he kept telling me to sing, 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 and when I finally got it, he like celebrated it, right? Makes all the difference in the world. Of course, that was like almost 40 years ago. So I have plenty of better examples today. I don't know why that example popped into my head. Maybe it's because it's one of the first ones. But anyway, that's what I want you to leave you with today. Yes, we want to improve our technique. We want to improve our phrasing and our musicality and all that stuff. But it shouldn't be for its own sake. The reason we do all of this stuff is because of that human connection. Okay? All of it. I'm going to say it one more time because it's so important. When you go with that intention to make that human connection, who can say you did it wrong? There's no wrong, right? There's no wrong. You made a connection or you didn't make a connection. All right? You're beyond judgment. And whether you make it or not, and we'll talk about that too. I'll make a video about that because I don't believe you should go with the intention of making it, because I think that messes a lot of stuff up. You really should not care whether you win or not. It's ironic, but the people that win are typically the ones that don't care as much as the other ones that do care so much. It's very strange, the psychology of it. And it's sort of like trying to get a girlfriend or a boyfriend, right? The more desperate you are for a boyfriend or a girlfriend, the least likely it's going to happen, right? It's the same thing with performance. The more desperate you are to win, the less likely you're going to win. And I actually believe that this framing thing is part of that. Because what you're framing is this intention to play perfectly or play better than everybody else there. And you're basically exposing all of your flaws that way. It's better to make that human connection and cover up the flaws. Or actually parade the flaws for all I care, right? There's people that play that way. They're rough around the edges. I'm actually one of those rough around the edges players. I've never been a perfect player. And so I have blips and blurps and a fuzzy tone and stuff like that. That's part of my musical personality, mostly because of my teeth. I know that sounds like an excuse, but it really is. That's what it is. So I've never been a very accurate, perfect um, mechanical player. Maybe that's why I know about this. Maybe that's why I know so much about putting your heart and making that connection, that human connection. But I promise you, it makes a big difference. It makes a huge difference. You get to dictate how people hear you by the way you're going to present to them. You're going to present either perfection, which you'll never make, right? You'll never reach perfection. Or you can frame yourself in that human connection, and then perfection doesn't matter anymore, because that's not what you're trying to do. All right? Anyway, that's what I got for you for this week. If you have any questions about that, please feel free to ask below. And other than that, I will see you on the next video. God bless you.